Hello, all you Cine-Pickers, and welcome to Cine-Picks. This is the show where Michaela and I pick movies for each other to watch that we haven't watched previously. And this week, it was Michaela's turn to pick a movie. So, Michaela, what was your Cine-Pick for this week?
Yes. The movie that I picked for you was Netflix's Over the Moon. It's an animated movie musical and one of my favorite movies now
Ooh,
ever, since I've now watched it like
yeah,
twice, and I'll probably watch it 8 more
right.
times.
And this was
Yeah,
a new release as well. So, it's another new release, because there hasn't been a lot of new releases. So, this is a new release for 2020.
yeah, right? It's fun. So, Kevin, I guess my question for you is if you could sum up, because I had trouble summing it
Hmm.
up for you at the end of the last video
Right.
without giving things away.
Well,
Of
that
course,
Tears of the Black Tiger
spoilers
was tough.
galore in here.
Right, yeah.
Now you can give a better description. So,
Okay.
what's this movie about?
All right. Well, luckily you picked a movie that's easier to sum up than I did, so it's. I think I can do it. So basically, this movie takes place in China, current day China. It's about a girl and her family, her father and mother, and they own a moon pie shop where they make moon pies. The daughter is she loves the story of the moon festival, yeah, which is solidified by her mother telling it, and it's basically representative of her love to her mother and the commitment to her family. Anyways, but her mother dies. Ah! Okay. Anyways, so her mother dies, and 4 years later, her dad meets another woman. Ah, the soon to be stepmother. And the woman has a son, the soon to be stepbrother. And it's just the end of the world for this girl. But then she discovers, aha, if I could go to the moon and get proof that Changla exists, then my father will remember the love he had for his previous wife and will not marry this crazy lady who's actually a pretty cool girl. I don't know.
It's actually
Uh,
kind of cool,
yeah,
but that's
but
my.
that's besides the point. You know. Anyways, and then she goes through this whole life changing moment where she realizes that it's okay that she can still love her mother and everything, but still move on with her life, and it's everything is fine. Yeah. But yeah, so I don't know, I liked it. I
Yeah,
thought it was pretty
I
good.
think that was a pretty good. I think that's a pretty good description. And then in the end too, ultimately what happens is everything gets resolved and everybody comes to. I think this film is very much like a weird like family drama, like at its
Yeah.
core.
Mhm.
Like it comes across like in the trailers as this really big escapist fantasy where with this girl who's getting over her grief and so she's like I'm going to build a rocket to the moon, which
Mhm.
she does actually.
Yeah.
But it's also like a weird contradiction because she's like, I am a scientist and I love magnetic levitation, but I also very, very deeply believe in Chang'e like a kid would believe in Santa.
Yeah.
So I've loved the fact that it's rooted in the fact that she's like feels spiritually connected to something that's a cultural myth well, I mean, well, I don't know. Like the origin of Chang'e, I don't know how much people actually like believe that it's a real thing,
Yeah.
but like I do think it's funny that like that was the root of it. And then all of a sudden she made it reality and is like, how much firepower am I really going to need in this rocket to actually get me there? So I think it's really funny. I don't know. Maybe that's probably just me nitpicking,
Yeah.
but I do think it's kind of hilarious how she's only like 14 years old and she's like, I I legit just made an entire rocket
Right.
and I legit just went up to the moon with a bunny in a
Right.
helmet, which I
Yeah.
don't know. There's something
I
so whimsical about it though.
yeah.
Like I
Well, I mean, because
don't
it's one of those like, did it really happen? Yes, but it, I don't. Yeah, I don't think that they didn't focus so much on that because there's a lot of stuff like that where like somebody goes on this adventure. It's kind of like a Wizard of Oz thing where like Dorothy goes on this crazy adventure, but then she wakes up and it's kind of a dream. But was it a dream? I don't know. And it's
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So this one is kind of similar where like, was it a dream? Was it not a dream? Did she just like run away from home and then pass out and have this dream and then she wakes up and like walks back home and now she's changed. Like how long was she
Yeah.
away for? All of that. But I don't think it matters though, because they don't really go into that whole like, was it real, was it not real, and she's not
Yeah.
like trying to convince people it's real, or she's not even telling people about it, about her crazy adventure. Like not even her stepbrothers telling them about this adventure. It's just something that happened, and
Yeah,
but
I am
I,
kind of surprised that the stepbrother didn't try to spill the beans.
yeah,
Because with the type of character that he is, like you think that he totally would, but it's very much it's like it reminds me of like the sort of thing that happened with Coco. Like
hmm,
I keep going back to Coco. I keep comparing everything
yeah.
to it.
No, I
Like
was
where
thinking a
the
lot of
kid
Coco as
leaves.
well. Yeah.
Yeah, like where the character will just leave. The family won't question it why they've been gone for so long. But then the kid finally comes back and it's kind of like nothing happened, even though you know that stuff happened. I don't know, maybe that's representative of like how people grow though, you
Hmm.
know? Like a moment of growth can happen in a split second and nobody will know or really acknowledge that it happened, but the character will
Yeah,
feel
for
like a
sure.
different person or will slowly just become a different person and you don't know it.
Hmm.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Hmm? Or maybe they're just trying to make a fun journey. That too.
Right,
I don't
yeah.
know.
In the end, I don't think it really matters if it was real or not. All that matters is that the characters, their perspective has changed. That's basically what she needs to come to the realization that it's okay to move on with her life and accept this new woman into her life, and still
Mhm.
remember her mother, so she can still have the memories of her mother and everything, but she needs to move on, and she needs to let her father move on as well. And so it would,
Yeah.
yeah, which is all things that she learned throughout this whole story. And I think it's really interesting because uh like because I'm familiar with the Changla and Hui story, is that's the story of the Moon Festival. And that was, yeah, recently, the Moon Festival recently passed. I think it was back September was the Moon Festival, and I had to teach it to my kindergarten class. I had to teach this story, which is interesting. Me trying to teach this story to 2-year-olds who don't speak English. It's
That's true. And
interesting,
you are an American. You're
right?
an American
Yeah. So
teaching
so I have to learn
Chinese
this
children
story and then
their own
figure out.
poetry. Yeah.
Yeah. So I have to learn this story and then I have to figure out how am I going to teach this story to 2-year-olds who don't speak English. Because yeah. And so it was interesting. Interesting looking at this
I want
story.
to know what did you teach them? Wait, okay, so what did you teach them? How'd you
So
do it?
so the basic story of Hoi and Changla is uh basically like way back in the ancient days there was 10 suns in the sky, and it was so hot because there's 10 suns. And so uh the emperor, he challenges the people to just get rid of these suns. Whoever can get rid of these suns, I will grant them immortality. And so Ho Yi, he's an archer. That's why in the story he's got his quiver of arrows and everything because he's an archer. Um, and so he uses his bow and he shoots down 9 of the 10 suns and just leaves one sun. And it turns out one sun is good. So, uh, anyway, and as a reward, the emperor grants him immortality, gives him the potion of immortality. But of course, Ho Yi, he's in love with Changla. He's not going to take this immortality potion because then they'd be separated. And then there's an evil person. I forget his name and like exactly what his deal is. I don't. He's like a sorcerer or something. Uh, but he wants that potion. And he's going to steal the potion. And somehow I forget the exact details, but and also things change a little bit here and there. That's the thing. There's a lot of variation in the story, which you see in this movie was portrayed very well when they're all sitting around the table eating and they're all debating over the details of the story. Because really, like it's not
Realistic.
one. There's a couple of variations of the story, but anyways, basically, in order to protect the potion, the Changla doesn't want this evil person to get the potion, so she takes it herself just to get rid of it, so that way nobody has to worry about it. And that was like kind of her duty to the world, to keep this evil person from gaining immortality. She takes the potion, but as a result, she is now separated from Ho Yi. So
And
she
she gets
she
so
floats up.
hard. Yeah.
Yeah, so she floats up to the moon because uh immortal beings can't live on Earth, so now she lives on the moon, and now they're separated, and it's so sad. And so, uh, in but that's why they celebrate Moon Festival, is to honor Ho Yi's sacrifice, and that's why we have the Moon Festival, and that's basically it. So that's what I had to teach.
Yeah, in the myth that you taught, was there anything about Hoi dying and then Chang'e crying? Because
Um,
that's a big point that
no,
they get to in the movie, I know.
no, but I think it's just one of those things you kind of understand. Obviously Ho Yi eventually died, and so I think that's something that's kind of like a between the lines type of thing. So like that's not actually in the actual myth, I don't think, but it's an interesting thing to explore in this story because you need those parallels, between what did I say? Fei Fei. There we go. So Fei Fei and her relationship with her mother, and then being separated because her mother dies. Now you've got, who else did it? Who else has been through a similar situation? Ah, well, Chang'e, she must have been, or no, yeah, Chang'e must have been through this situation because Hou Yi is mortal and she's not, so she's still alive, and Hou Yi died thousands of years ago. So it's a similar parallels, but in the actual story, I don't think it gets that far. It kind of stops, like the legend stops at when they get separated, and then that's it. As far as the Jade Rabbit, I don't know what that's all about, and I even, like, in my little research I did, I couldn't really find what's going on with the Jade Rabbit. Just the Jade Rabbit is something
Yeah.
else that lives on the moon, but like I have
So,
no
so
idea
I
what that
figured
is.
it out. So people like to say that Chang'e was sent up there with a rabbit. I
Mhm.
think that the rabbit is a replacement for a supposed human character in the story that was also banished, like
Mhm.
a mortal that was banished up there as well. So
Yeah.
apparently there were multiple people that were banished up on the moon living with Chang'e. So she wasn't completely alone. But the thing about the rabbit I found out is because people think that, like, that design that's kind of printed on the moon. I always thought of it as a face,
Mhm.
like two blotches for an eye and then a mouth.
Yeah.
A lot of people think that's a rabbit.
Mhm.
So that's why they say that Chang'e was sent up with a rabbit, because
Yeah.
the rabbit was on the moon, and then it makes sense to make it jade because jade's like a symbol for good luck and for
Mhm.
wealth
Yeah.
in that culture. So
Right. Yeah. So
yeah,
that makes.
I think that's where that came from.
Mhm.
Um, and I
But
thought
as far as
it was really
yeah, as
cute.
far as Changla's relationship with the Jade Rabbit, I don't know what the relationship is, other than the fact that they both live on the moon. But
Yeah, I don't really know either. She kind of like enslaved him
mm,
for a little while.
yeah.
Make my potion, you rabbit. And he's just like freaking out. He's like, oh gosh, I'm on a deadline. What am I gonna do?
Mhm.
Like the whole movie, he's just anxiety. Oh my gosh. But yeah, yeah. Okay, quick question. What do you think about this movie's visuals in
The vision.
comparison to to the last few Disney movies that we've now seen?
I think they're really good. I mean, it makes sense that they would be as good as they are, because I did some research on the animation studio. It was Pearl Studios did the animation for it, and Pearl Studios, it's a Chinese animation studio, or it's a Chinese film production studio, but mainly focusing on animation. Uh, they used to be partners with DreamWorks Animation, and
Hmm.
they did Kung Fu Panda, How to Train Your Dragon, and a bunch of other DreamWorks movies. They did a lot of that kind of stuff, and so it makes sense uh, that the animation would be as good as it is. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, but
Haha, DreamWorks deserves.
mhm,
But I'm kind of glad they did it
yeah.
um, for their own company and released it on Netflix. Like, I think this is the first movie that I've seen from this animation company. Like, do you know if they would have done anything else? I can look
No,
it
well, I
up.
looked them up. This is the first movie they did independently. So independent from DreamWorks. So that's what I said. They used to be part of DreamWorks. DreamWorks. teamed up with uh, China Media Capital to create a animation studio in China, a production studio in China, and it was actually the very first U.S. based animation production studio in China. Actually, film production studio in China in general. This was the first one. This was back in 2012.
Oh
And
wow.
yeah,
Okay.
the U.S. has been trying to get a production studio in China for a long time, to use the Chinese talents and also like because there's a lot of talent and it's cheaper in China and there's a lot of advantages to doing stuff in China. Uh, but China has been reluctant to let any film industry into China until DreamWorks teamed teamed up with China Media Capital and created Oriental DreamWorks Animation, which is a uh, DreamWorks Animation studio in China. That was the very first. Yeah, and it was called Oriental DreamWorks Animation. China picked it, so you can't say it's racist because they picked it. They picked the
I
name.
know. I know.
Anyways,
I just I have thoughts. Continue.
okay,
You know how I feel
yeah,
about this.
but so uh they produce a lot of stuff for DreamWorks. As I said, like How to Train Your Dragon, Abominable, uh, Kung Fu Panda, all that, and a bunch of stuff. They produce a lot of films, and it was going to be like a big thing. They were going to be producing 3 or 4 films a year and everything. It did not turn out as successful as DreamWorks was hoping, and eventually, the China Media Capital just bought the whole studio and like bought it all from DreamWorks and turned it into Pearl Studio. And Over the Moon was the first movie that they independently produced
Wow.
themselves, and then with Netflix, and I think Netflix mostly jumped in for distribution purposes. It was, you know,
Yeah. I'm just so impressed that they were able to get such a stellar cast
hmm
of like American actors who all happen to be Asian as well.
hmm
They all have Asian heritage. So I think it's amazing. But they're all top tier talents too.
All
Like
right,
you've got
well,
Philippa Sue, who's voicing Chang'e, and she does all of her own singing for the songs,
hmm
and they're good. And I was like, what? You got the whole King and I revival cast, like voicing all of the characters, which
I,
means they can
I,
all actually sing?
yeah, I mean, I looked at the cast. I didn't see like, there was some top tier talent, but like, uh, I guess maybe it was mostly theater, and that's why I couldn't find a lot of IMDb credits because most of them are theater or Broadway talent. So yeah, so it's interesting when you just look
That's
at
true.
it like on a film perspective, and you look at like, okay, who are these people? What do they do? And they're like,
Oh yeah,
not a
yeah.
lot. I
If
don't.
you're
I
a nerd
just
like me, you might not know all of
yeah.
them because they're not like celebrity
Mhm.
movie celebrities.
Yeah.
But man, they're theater
Mhm.
celebrities. I wish up the ground the Philippa Sue walks on. So I mean, that's just me. If you're a Hamilton fan, you'll
Yeah.
probably know some other people in it. But yeah, I get what you're saying too.
Mhm.
It's just yeah, it's that is astounding to me because you think that they would hire internally with people that live in China, you know?
Mhm. Yeah. Well, I didn't. That was the thing that's interesting is it's a Chinese production studio producing a movie about China, and yet it's all American. Like I was expecting it to be originally produced in Chinese, and then the one on Netflix is the
Like
American
redubbed
cast.
or
It's a
something.
redubbed thing, but it doesn't
Yeah.
seem like it's been redubbed. It seems like it was produced specifically for a Western audience with using Western talent. So that's yeah, I found that very interesting. That's something that it really confused me because like I'm looking like I'm trying to find the angle. Whenever I see something that's produced in China, I'm trying to find like what's the angle? What are they trying to get away with? What are they trying to pull?
Well, that makes sense
Um,
though, since like our very first video with like Love on a Leash, we had to
mhm.
do a lot of investigating to
Right.
figure out what exactly happened with this foreign market studio
hmm
that got them all of this money.
Right.
to you know, it's yeah, I'm totally I understand what you're saying now. I think foreign media markets are really unusual.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, no angle here. They just managed to cast American talent
Mhm.
in the movie. But okay, so question. So I watched this movie on American Netflix. Did
Mhm.
you watch this movie on American Netflix or on Taiwan Netflix?
I can't remember. I think it was Taiwan Netflix. I mean, I could check real quick to see if it is on the Taiwanese Netflix. Make sure my VPN is off. Yeah. Yeah, so it is. It's on the Taiwan Netflix. But actually, I kind of want to check the language options to see if there is a. Uh, let's see. What are the language options? So audio, it does have Mandarin audio option. I wonder if the music is in Chinese.
Wait,
I'm in.
click, do it,
Yeah,
do it. Over the
yeah.
moon, Mandarin.
Okay, so far, yeah, the music seems to be in Chinese.
Because there's already some Mandarin spoken in
Yeah,
the movie, which I think was actually a really beautiful touch because it is all in English, but some of the songs,
yeah.
like
No,
shoot.
it's so so far I've checked a couple of songs and it seems like it's in Mandarin, or they have all the music in Mandarin as well. So
Oh, okay. Yeah.
yeah,
I'm looking. The Chinese version is way better than the English version, not just the song, every song in the movie. The Chinese is so amazing, blah, 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 blah. Very touching performance from China. Yeah, I wonder now who was doing the dubs. I wonder if the American actors also know Chinese and some of them are able to do the dub over versions. That's interesting. Now I want to go back and like I want to like turn on audio, different audio for this to just see how emotions and inflections are changed when
hmm
you change somebody's line delivery.
yeah,
Oh, that would be weird. It's like I'm dubbing the dub. That would be so weird. Like what if I made it and they were all talking in Mandarin, but
hmm
the subtitles were translating their translated
yeah,
Mandarin. They were translating from the so like the captions might be completely messed up.
right.
Like I don't know. Like side note, have you ever done that? Like West Side Story, by the way,
hmm
is the funniest thing to watch. If you turn on like I think they have like a setting or something because and this is me playing around with it when I was like 13, but I used to watch West Side Story like religiously when I was a kid on my portable DVD player, and you can bless you. I
Okay,
wasn't sure if
thank
you
you.
were coughing
No,
or
it's okay.
sneezing. It's okay. Sorry. There's a setting where you can change the language to like Portuguese.
hmm
So everybody's talking really, really fast and nothing matches the words at all.
Yeah.
And the mouths, and they're talking in Portuguese, but you can set the subtitles to English or Spanish or French,
hmm
and it like has to retranslate the translation of what what the original language was, and what you get is so weird. Just like the strangest sentences. Some of them make sense, but most of them don't. Because
Yeah.
I think it's just like you can only translate the translation of the translation so many times
hmm
before it just gets like interpretive things
hmm
get funky and muddled.
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
why it's so important that we have good people doing translations so that everybody knows what the story is. But that's beside the point.
Yeah. I actually, so while I was watching this movie, I kind of wanted to just watch it in, in Mandarin. I was thinking, and I might go back and watch it again in Mandarin, but like after like, because I was in the middle of watching it, and I was like, I don't know, it just seems weird to be watching this in English, because like now, like having lived in China and now living in Taiwan, like whenever I see things like this, it's always in Mandarin. And so now, now I'm watching it in English, and I'm like, it seems kind of weird. Like, I'm like,
Well,
this
yeah,
should be in Mandarin.
it's
And Over the Moon, I like it has some kind of like Terry Gilliam type of like fantasy elements. I don't know if you watch a lot of Terry Gilliam movies, like Brazil or uh, Time Bandits. Uh, there's a lot of so Terry Gilliam he came from Monty Python, and he just has this crazy like the kind of dark fantasy type of visuals. So yeah, but that's what I was thinking when I was thinking of Over the Moon, where it's like this girl wants to go to the moon. He had another movie, I can't remember what it's called. The Adventures of Baron Munchausen. That's what it was. The Adventures of Baron Munchausen. That's why I couldn't remember the name, because it's a weird name. So the Adventures of Baron Munchausen. He actually goes to the moon. He sails a boat to the moon. That was something he did. And uh, yeah, it's like super weird visuals. I don't know, but I felt like this was very reminiscent of that. Of kind of like the, it's like this ridiculous idea of this guy. He wants to sail a boat to the moon. How do you like get a boat to go to the moon? But he does somehow. And now you got this 14-year-old girl who's like, I'm gonna build a rocket ship to the moon. And it's like, yeah, right, kid. But then she does it, like, and it's just
But she
ridiculous.
actually does. She
Yeah,
legit actually does build it. And a very functional rocket. But
yeah,
hey, I mean, she was crafty, she was resourceful, and it was all free expense paid by
right.
her father, who thought that she was just doing a really elaborate science experiment.
I'm wondering like
I mean,
how.
I've done crazy things for science experiments. So
Yeah, but like I don't know about you, but if I were spending that much money, my parents would kind of want to know what I'm up to.
that's true.
So,
And that's another thing.
and
I
they
can't
actually
like
show how
point out
much.
problems with the movie.
Yeah.
I feel because I really do feel like this is like I personally love this movie. I
Mhm.
think it's like as close. I don't want to say it's like perfection.
Mhm.
It's close because there are flaws with it, but it is a very good movie. I do have to say though, the disconnect between I feel like a lot of things could have been fixed if people just communicated.
Mhm.
It's the same frustration that I have when I watch horror movies, where it's like right off the bat I could be like that could have been fixed if that person just told this person this.
Mhm.
That could have been fixed if they just met up, you know?
Yeah.
And I feel like what the dad did to Feifei
Mhm.
was not cool because it came out of nowhere for her.
Yeah. Right.
And I don't know, like I personally don't have parents that are separated or or I don't have a deceased parent,
Mhm.
but I do know what it's like to go through the grieving process of like having to move on and then watching other members in your family move on. And I understand that goes at different rates, but also why would you not like want to inform like
Mhm.
the main person in your life that like, hey, I think I like want to start looking around again and finding some happiness
Yeah.
and possibly maybe remarrying. How would you feel about that? Like, why would you not talk to your child about that? But also, I don't know, maybe that doesn't happen in real life either. Like maybe maybe that's a conversation that just also comes out of the blue for a
Right.
lot of a lot of kids. I don't know,
Yeah.
Kevin.
I don't know. It's tough. Yeah, it's hard to say exactly like what happened off screen. Where it's like, how long has her dad been dating this other woman before he finally brought her home? Like, like how long has that been going on? Is it kind of a sudden thing? Or, just like whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, like how much time went by between like their first meeting versus the Moon Festival?
Yeah.
Because all of a sudden it went from like, this is Chin's brother, sorry, Chin's son, whose name I forget frequently.
Yeah, it's
He reminds me of the kid from Up, but he's not the kid from Up.
Yeah,
Can I just
Chin.
call him
So
Russell?
Chin is the stepbrother.
Chin
S-
is okay. I
Yeah,
don't know why he's the
stepmom. I can't
man.
remember her name. I think it's Miss Jen. They just call her Miss Jen.
Miss
So
Jen.
yeah. So they
That's
don't. I don't.
fine.
She has a first. She don't. I don't think they gave her a first name.
I
Um.
totally thought her first name was Chin.
Yeah. No. Shin is the stepbrother.
Oh my God. Why? What's happening? I must have misread something at the beginning of the movie. I thought her name was Chin, and I did not know what his name was.
Yeah.
Um, I think that like it to me it went really fast from him like being existing and like running into walls and stuff, which
Mhm.
I think that's so funny. It's I've literally seen boys that age
Mhm.
do that stuff.
Yeah. Well, I
It's
mean,
great.
I did that stuff when I was a
Did
kid.
you?
But
Did you think it was annoying,
mm,
Chin?
Chin, not really. So that's the interesting thing about this movie. There's a couple characters that I think we're supposed to believe are really annoying. So there's Chin, and then there's also Gobi. Gobi's the green guy with the big tongue. I don't know. He's also supposed to be that super annoying character. But then as
He's
you
so
find out
cute.
later on in the movie that they're basically the same character. Chin and Gobi are basically the same. They come to that realization, and Fei Fei comes to that realization where like, but that's the interesting thing where Fei Fei, she hates Chin, but she likes Gobi, and then but they're the same person basically. And so it turns out the only reason why she hates Chin is because Chin is her stepbrother. She's the son of this woman she hates. And
It's what he
so
represents. I think
yeah,
it's what he
and that's
represents
and
more than him.
yeah, but that's the thing. And so there's actually a really good scene in this movie where Gobi is talking to Feifei, and Feifei's talking about Chin and how annoying Chin is and everything, and she's describing Chin. And as she's describing Chin, you realize she's actually describing Gobi as well. But Gobi's this person she really likes. Gobi's like her best friend that she's ever made on the moon. But she hates Chin. Chin is so annoying. But wait a minute, they're the same person. So then I think she also kind of comes to the same realization in that moment. I don't think she admits it, but you kind of see that she's come to this realization, or maybe she's in like a little bit of denial, but still. And then as throughout the rest of the movie, she realizes how much she actually likes her stepbrother, and also how much she needs her stepbrother in order to like get out of this crazy situation she's in. And so
Yeah.
I think that was really well done, and I think that was good on the filmmaker's parts to not make Chin overly annoying. Like Chin annoys Feifei, but Chin does not annoy the audience at all. I don't think anybody who watches this movie is like, I hate that kid. I think
Yeah.
everybody likes Chin. He's not super annoying. He's cute. He's funny, and but
And
he's cute.
He's devoted to a sister that
Yeah.
he doesn't even know. Like a
Mhm.
person, like right off the bat, too. I feel like that also established him as a more positive character. Because he
Yeah.
could have been annoying to just be a little turd. But
Mhm.
he's annoying because it's just, he's just a little eccentric. But like at its core, I think he just really wants to impress his sister. And he's just so excited
Yeah.
at the possibility of having one, which
Mhm.
makes maybe points to the fact that like Fei Fei has kind of grown cynical over the years, maybe because she's stuck in her grief, so she can't like see
Mhm.
that he's actually rooting for her, like
Yeah.
he actually wants to be there. But I see, and what you said about them potentially being, were you saying that they are the same person or that it's hinted
um,
before?
it's hinted that they are like
Because I didn't get that. I
they
thought that they
there
were
was
different.
there was a scene in there where where they basically show the comparisons and they're like, they're the same person. Like they're the same. Like they're not exactly like the exact like same person, but similar personalities. And so you see how Fei Fei can get along with Gobi just fine, no problem, but she cannot get along with Chin. Why? They
Wait,
got the
was
same
she getting
weird.
along with Ruby at that point, though?
Yeah.
Because he was causing some problems for her at the beginning, too, in the same way that Shin was. I can't remember what their turning point was
But
though.
she always stuck with Gobi. She was constantly pushing Chin away, but she always stuck with Gobi. And she used Gobi to like, to help get onto the frogs. And Gobi sings a song, and like their friendship builds pretty quickly. He's kind of eccentric and weird and annoying, but Faye's able to tolerate it anyways, and they become friends. Whereas she completely rejects Chin all the time. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Also the fact too that I didn't think about this till now, but like realistically, they are pretty much separated for a good third, maybe even half of the movie,
Hmm.
um, off on their own journeys, right? Because Chin basically he gets caught by Palace Guard trying to steal um, whatever he's trying to. I don't know.
Yeah,
He's
the
like trying to
photograph.
get him.
He's trying
Yeah,
to
he's
steal
like
the
trying to get
photograph.
the photograph. So he gets stuck inside his own like little dungeon area, and he's forced to do this weird rap tennis ping pong montage
Hmm.
with Tonga. But then he's off on his own, like doing his own thing. He's just stuck, and
Yeah.
like for the entirety of the movie, doing his own thing. And Fei Fei doesn't technically know that he's been doing his own thing until they finally meet up. They like bump into each other and then they're running together and he like tries to exposition what he's been doing for the last half of the movie. And she's like, "Oh, cool. Suddenly I like you." I wish that we had like some kind of a moment where Chin was looked at her and was like, "You're nice to me now? Why are you suddenly nice to me?" Instead, he's just like very accepting. He's like very he acts as if they had both trauma bonded over a shared experience, only their experience is not shared because they've gone through separate trials for a good half of the movie and then they just come together and they're like, "Oh, hey, what's up? What's up? Yeah,
Hmm.
let's go get her the gift. Let's do that. Yeah."
Yeah.
and then
Well,
and then they're okay. Suddenly they're all okay.
yeah.
And I was just
Well,
like, "Oh,
I don't. I feel like he doesn't need to go through any sort of transformation. He's already because the story's all about Fei Fei anyways, and so we don't like. We, it's not about Chin, and we don't really care about Chin's transformation. It's all about Fei Fei, and so that's why it's important to. So you see, Chin, he's always devoted to his sister, and he's always ready to help and to he wants to be helpful, and even when Fei Fei pushes him away, he's like, I still need to help anyways. He's not like, oh, screw you, I'm gonna go do my own thing. He's always so Chin is kind of like the perfect character. What he doesn't develop, it doesn't matter because the story's not about him anyways. It's all about Fei Fei. So I don't think we really need him to come to any real new realization because he's already perfect. From the beginning of the movie, he's already perfect, so we don't care about him. We only care about Fei Fei, and uh, so just to see Fei Fei's transformation, I think it is good enough for me. It's not like in Moana where Moana she has her conversation with her grandmother, and all of a sudden she goes through this little transformation, or it's like a mind switch where like now she realizes what her purpose is, and like,
yeah,
I have to do
yeah,
this no
my
matter
grandmother
what.
was a
And
catalyst
then
to
yeah,
set the
and then
fires and put
Maui
into the ground.
Maui has this thing off camera, and it's and so that part was kind of annoying, where like, well, I would have liked to have seen like what sort of transformation did Maui go through. Why did he suddenly change his mind? Whereas this one, well, because in Moana, Maui and Moana are both non-perfect characters, and so they need to be worked on throughout the movie. Whereas this
Mhm.
one, Chin is already perfect. We don't care about Chin. We only care about Fei Fei because she's not perfect. I'm just for a narrative, story perspective. Chin, he's already his character arc is complete at when he's introduced. We don't care about him as much. We only care about Fei Fei. So the fact that we don't see
They
Chin,
could have given him more. They could have given him more depth, though. You know,
yeah,
I
I
just
mean, maybe
it
it
prevented
would
me
have been
from going into
interesting.
like to stock character mode.
Yeah,
Because now
well,
I'm foreseeing, I'm like, just watch. They're gonna come out with a series of shorts.
mhm,
Involving Chin, and nothing is going to happen to him at all character-wise because he's just hysterical as
yeah,
is. which will be fine, but then that demotes him to basically just being a
Yeah.
minion
So
and just
he so here's the thing is the reason why I say he's perfect when he got introduced is because he already went through this transformation before he went to the movie. So for instance, he doesn't have a dad. What happened to his dad? Right? His mom is obviously willing to move on, and he's perfectly fine with this new relationship with his mother and his stepdad. He's perfectly okay with his stepsister. That means that everything that Fei Fei has gone through in this movie, Chin has already gone through
Mm,
before this movie. So that means that he has his own backstory. So it would have been nice to get a little glimpse at Chin's backstory. Why is he okay with this? And Fei Fei is not okay with this. What sort of transformation did he go through before? So I think that's what you're talking about. That's what you wanted. You want a little bit of why has his character arc been
yeah.
completed before the
Like,
movie even started?
yeah, and then how beautiful would it have been to at the very end? Spoiler alert,
Yeah.
if when Chang'e went into her
Mhm.
the pit of despair. She went into her pit of despair, and then Fei Fei went in, and then also got dragged into the pit of despair. What if Shin was the one to go in
Yeah, and talk to
and,
her.
and talk to her?
Yeah.
Which then starts a chain reaction, and then they
Mhm.
both go talk to Chang'e. How
Yeah.
beautiful would
I
that
think
have been? I'm
that
just
yeah,
saying.
that I feel like that's what you're talking about. That I think that's what they needed. I like the way the movie worked out anyways, where Changla she kind of talks herself out of it as she's talking to Faye. And that was really sweet. And honestly, I had a little tear. I was like, it's a very so I feel like that scene was very very good. But I think if Chin were the one to go in, it would have made it just that little bit better. I think so.
Right. It's
Yeah.
already so good though.
Mhm.
Like, right? You were getting emotional, right? I
Yeah.
was like, I don't normally cry at a lot of
Yeah.
movies, but I was sitting there just like blinking back tears
Mhm.
after the hit of like they go through all of that to get Hoi back, and Hoi comes back and they have they have this beautiful song that they sing, only for him to then become a ghost. And I called it
Mhm.
and I knew what was gonna happen. Weirdly enough, I was like, oh, he's not gonna be around for long. I
Yeah.
just knew it. And then what do you know? He starts turning into a ghost, and then he's like, so I gotta go back. You gotta
Mhm.
move on. And I was like, no. I was like, you done it now.
Right.
You've done it now. Also, I didn't realize too until halfway through the movie that it was her little minions, Chonga's little minion, little blobby teardrop
Mhm.
friends were her tears.
Yeah.
Because it said in the legend that she
Mhm.
had cried so greatly that
Yeah.
she like controls the weather and like stuff like that. So every time she cries, it turns into little blob friends. I also
Mhm.
think that's kind of like a weird, beautiful metaphor. The fact that your tears, she's at the end of the movie, she's left with nothing but the jade rabbits and her tears
Right.
that have manifested and become real and are now her friends. But
Mhm.
in a weird, I don't know, maybe that's like something, a commentary, and like, I don't know, like you can find comfort in your sadness or so, I don't know. Like, good things can come out of positively coping instead of letting yourself dwell
Mhm.
or something like that. I don't know. Let me know when you found the perfect formula for grief,
Uh,
because I certainly haven't. Um, I'm glad that this movie sort of has gotten closer
yeah.
because I did love the way that it unfolded. I think the film handled it very realistically, and I think it was very well done. Like, I was
Yeah.
surprised at how mature this film was, um, because the visuals themselves are very bright and like
Mhm.
technicolor, and
Yeah.
there's a song called Ultraluminary.
Mhm.
It's exactly what you think it. Okay, question about the songs. How did you feel about the songs?
I like the songs. I thought they were really good. And yeah, that's the thing that it makes me interested to watch it in Mandarin now. Now that after watching English, and I was like, how are you gonna do these songs in Mandarin? Like because they're obviously written for English, so it'd be interesting to watch in Mandarin as well. But yeah,
Yeah.
I really like the songs. I thought they worked really well. The Yeah, it was interesting. The moon was like super poppy, and it was also reflected in the music as well. Because like on Earth, everything's like really grounded, and it's like Broadway musical type numbers, and then you go to the moon, and you've got like K-pop numbers. So it's
Yeah. Yeah, the tone shifts,
hmm
which is crazy. And I was gonna, because I've seen when this thing, because I remember when a similar thing happened when I watched Zootopia, and Shakira as an antelope came up and started singing like "Try Everything," and I was
yeah.
just kind of like, Shakira, Shakira, and I could not see anything other than Shakira as an antelope.
hmm
But I was kind of surprised by how much I actually liked like the really seemingly out of place pop numbers.
Yeah.
There's like a there's the ping pong rap scene that happens where all of a sudden like Changa is rapping
hmm
and Chin then starts rapping.
Yeah.
We're having a rap battle. And I just like there are a few seconds and like it's that scene and then Changa's opening pop scene where she's like, "Look at me, I'm legendary, I'm ultra luminary," and whatnot. There are a few moments where I was like, "Oh God, this is happening again," but it's actually okay. But then it actually turns out being okay. I
Yeah.
think it was when Chin started rapping back. I was like, "Yeah,
Yeah. Right.
yeah." I was like, "Get it,
hmm
get ping pong." Also, question for you.
Yeah.
Personally, is ping pong really huge in Asia? As big as
Yeah.
Americans think it is?
I So I haven't been to Japan, but talking to my friends who've been to Japan, it seems like Japan is like huge with ping pong. Um, when I was in China, there, I, there's not a lot of people or I didn't see a lot of ping pong when I was in China. I saw like some parks had like some like permanent ping pong tables set up in parks, but like I didn't see people playing it there as much. And I played a little bit of ping pong, and I was able to keep up a little bit with ping pong, uh, with the people that I played with other Chinese people, and so it doesn't like ping pong is as big in China as is in other places in Asia, and same thing in Taiwan. It's similar. There is ping pong and there's ping pong academies, but it's not like a huge thing. Not everybody plays ping pong,
It's not like
but
the national sport.
yeah. So it's not like huge, but it is like at school. There's like ping pong leagues at schools and stuff like that. So it,
Okay.
but it's not. Yeah, I don't see it. I didn't see it as much. It seems like basketball is more popular. That's the that's their jam is basketball. Everybody wants to play basketball. But I think we might get way off topic again for our next topic, which would be the way that China is portrayed in the movie versus real life, because I think that is very interesting. Uh,
Yeah.
from
Yeah.
my
And I did research about this too. So
so
what did you
yeah, so the way that's portrayed in the movie, I feel like it's kind of the dream. This is what everybody thinks of China, and it's what everybody expects China to be like. And this is actually kind of what I expected it to be like when I got there. And I was actually disappointed when it wasn't, and as I like really prepared myself for culture shock. And so basically, we've got this. So this movie takes place in this little village out in the middle of I don't know where. It's just in the middle. It's in the middle of China somewhere. They don't say exactly where, but you get these overview shots of the village, and you see it's kind of it's a smallish village, uh, made of old buildings, and they're kind of ancient Chinese
Well,
architecture, what you would
there's
expect to
a
find in
symbol at the
China.
top of the hill.
Yeah. and it's in the middle of a bunch of fields, so maybe there's a lot of farmers around. Anyways, uh, but yeah, from my, yeah, but it seems like, everybody's happy. Everybody, it seems like everybody's working, and it's uh, the Fei Fei's family owns a moon pie shop, which I question the how sustainable that sort of business would be, because moon pies
In
are
a small village.
extremely seasonal. Like you eat moon pies during Mid Autumn Festival and Moon Festival, around the April, or not April, September, around September, October holidays.
Hmm.
But that's about it. And so it's kind of like gingerbread. Like you eat gingerbread in December around the holiday season, but you don't really eat gingerbread
Hmm.
any other time of the year. So
Yeah.
having a
Yeah. Right.
business, so having a business that specializes in gingerbread is not the best business. You want to have a bakery, and like you can bake other stuff throughout the year, and then during the holiday season you can bake gingerbread. It's kind of like the same
Yeah.
thing. But in this, you don't really see that their family is making anything besides mooncakes, which mooncakes is a very, very seasonal dessert. And so
I mean, but there is magic in the mooncakes.
they
Maybe
they
this is
are
what people really
mooncakes are
like doing.
delicious unless they put a cured egg in it. Then like get out of here. But I, I I'm not a big fan of cured eggs, and that's a thing. Especially that I didn't experience it a lot in China. In Taiwan, cured eggs is a big thing, especially in desserts. And so you be eating your mooncake, you're like, nice, like, yummy red beans. It's like, it's so good. And then you take another bite and you get into the cured egg and it's salty and like chalky. And it's like, that's not what I wanted in my dessert. Like, thanks for ruining my mooncake. And
Yeah.
so,
That's what I remember trying a mooncake for the first time as a kid.
hmm
I have mixed feelings about the about mooncakes and moon pies because of that,
hmm
because of the egg that's inside, because the outside of it is fine. It's
yeah,
like, it's pretty tasty, and then you get to the middle and you're like, oh,
yeah.
oh, it's
Well,
this.
because
What
sometimes,
is
like,
this?
you just take that cured egg out and it's fine. Like, there's nothing wrong with it because there's lots of different. I've had them with red bean paste. I've actually made my own mooncakes using red bean paste, and it tastes pretty good. Um, I've had them with pineapple. It's really good. Other ones like taro and a bunch of other. There's a lot of stuff that you can put in mooncakes. I don't think there's like a real standard. It's just basically the shape of the mooncake is what's most important. That
But I
shape
do
is like
want to
that's a
make
mooncake. But let's get back to Over the Moon.
over the moon.
All right. So so anyways, so we have this mooncake business. For the purpose of the movie, it's perfectly fine. In reality, I don't think it's a very sustainable business, but that's okay. That's not the things I have issues with. Um, so, anyways, with the way that the village is portrayed, it's the ideal. Like this is China. This is how Chinese people live, and it's super cool. Um, my personal experience living in China is these villages don't exist like this. I've been to a bunch of rural villages that would be similar to this, and they probably were similar to this at one point in time, but are no longer. Like, yeah, when I so villages like this exist in tourist places. Uh, so I've been to a village that was similar to this, with buildings, lots of shops, and cool stuff, but nobody lives there. It's a complete tourist destination. This was in Changde, which is where I lived in the Hunan province. There's a place called River Street, and it's kind of like the old town, and it's kind of like how they've preserved this section of town. This is what the old Changde used to be like, and really, it's completely manufactured, uh, and it's a tourist. It's a super touristy place, and mostly built for local tourists. You don't see a lot of Westerners going to Changde. It's not a touristy place at all, as far as foreign tourists coming, but it's for the local tourists, and even just people who live in Changde. If they want to get, just like this nostalgia taste of like old China, like this is where they go. But I've been to other villages where, like actual real villages where people live, and they're not like that at all. They are, a lot of it is shacks. People living in shacks, or the houses are, if they do live in like a traditional house, it's super run down. I mean, like you wouldn't expect people to actually live there. There's like I remember I was visiting. I went with one of my coworkers to her grandmother's house, and she lived in one of these villages. And I couldn't believe that her grandmother actually lived in this house. Like it's it's basically a shack, and it looks super old. And I was like, well, maybe this is like a super old house. And so I asked him like, so how old is this house? Expecting it to be like maybe 200-300 years old. Yeah, it was 30 years old. The house itself was 30 years old, completely run down. It's,
Would
yeah.
you even qualify? Would you say it's a house then? What did she refer to the
Yeah, well,
structure
it's a
she was
house.
living in as?
I mean, it's a house. It's like, I don't know if there must be some electricity in there because there was a TV in there. But like, I kind of like, they took me on a tour through the house, and I was like, this place looks abandoned. It doesn't look like anybody lives here. Like it, but that her grandmother lives alone in this, seemed like an abandoned shack. But that's their normal situation. There's nothing wrong with it, and that seems to be in these rural communities. That's the way people live normally. Going back to Over the Moon, we're going back over there. Okay, so in Over the Moon, the what I thought was interesting. This is the similar type of soft power propaganda I think I talked about earlier, where they show that basically the purpose of this type of propaganda is to get people to kind of turn a blind eye to China, because there are some serious human rights violations going on, human rights issues, uh, and this type of thing is to get people to look at China and be like, oh well, this is what I think of China. There's nothing nefarious going on. Look at these people; they live in this village and they're happy and they're living their lives and it's great. Everybody's working and everybody's eating and it's great. But the reality of it is not that. And so like for instance, earlier this year, uh, Xi Jinping, who is the leader of the Chinese Communist Party, has recently declared that China is completely, or he has completely eradicated poverty inside of China. There's no more poverty in China, and basically, nothing has changed. The how he has done that is to lower the standards of poverty, uh, to the point where nobody qualifies anymore for as impoverished. And so even though 70% of the people who live in China make less than $300 a year, which is a lot. That's over 900 million people in China make less than, no, not $300 a month. Sorry, not $300 a year.
I was gonna be like,
But
oh
still,
my
yeah, I know,
God.
$300 a month, which is still seven. So, but if you think of 70% of the population of China, that's over 900 million. So imagine if everybody in the U.S. were to only make $300 a month, and then multiply that times three. So that means there's three countries, same size as the U.S., and everybody is only making $300 a month. And actually, that's 40% of the population is actually making less than $150 a month. So that's, but still,
Well,
so
how much does it cost to live there?
yeah, well,
Is,
that's
is
the
the
thing
cost of
that
living
is that's
proportionate to
that's the
how
thing we're
much?
trying to figure, that we'll find out soon, because that's a recent thing where the government has declared no more poverty. Yay, we have eradicated poverty. What that means is that the government uh, is no longer uh, they basically cut off their welfare funding, to all these people. So these people are now aren't are basically self-sufficient now. So now, no, because they were always making $300 a month, but the government was giving them a little bit more money to help them get by. But now they're
Hmm.
not getting anything. You would expect the government to help them out because it's a because of communism. That's the whole thing where like the government, don't worry, the government will take care of you. Everybody's equal, blah, blah, you know. But now the government's like, we're gonna save a little bit of money and just and also get a little bit of face as well to by declaring no more poverty. You know, now the government officials are getting more wealthy because they're saving money by not giving it to poor people, but now the poor people have to fend for themselves basically. Here's a reason why a lot of the houses and everything like are a lot of people they don't take care of their own houses as much. Why they just completely run down shacks? It's because there's no or mostly because even if you bought the house with your own money, the house doesn't really belong to you. It belongs to the government. So number one, you don't really have full ownership over your own house, and second, the government can take your house whenever it feels like, which happens a lot. If the government, like say, the government decides that this high speed rail needs to go through Feifei's village, then the government will basically say, okay, get out. We're going to build our high speed rail through your village. And basically, seize all the property and demolish all the houses. And that happens all the time in China. And so you don't even if you bought your house and your land with your own money, you don't actually own it. The government actually owns it, and the government can take it away whenever they feel like it. And so there's no incentive for you to actually take care of this property because it could be gone any second. So
Yeah,
there, that's the
yeah,
there's no
that makes
real
sense.
ownership, no like personal responsibility for your property, and that's why these places they just get super run down.
I don't know everything about China. I haven't lived there.
Yeah, well,
I yeah,
there's a lot to know, and I don't know everything, but it's hard to get that information as well because they're so locked down, and also because they're also constantly trying to keep people to look away, to like so you look so for instance you watch Over the Moon, and you're like it's a great movie, and China's it's a China seems to be doing all right, and then you're like that's
it
it,
largely ignore. Yeah,
and then,
yeah,
but then you ignore the bigger issues going on, and so that's the but Mulan was also similar. Mulan was filmed in the Xinjiang province, which is under a lot of controversy recently. And Disney wants to film in China, and China's like, okay, you can film in China, but you have to film in this specific region of China. And the reason why is because the Xinjiang is the province uh, where the Uyghur Muslim concentration camps are, and uh, forced ethnic cleansing is going on over there. So there's suspected organ harvesting as well in that region. Like there's a lot of human rights issues
yeah,
going on, controversies, and China. Whenever you hear China, like I've seen interviews with Chinese diplomats on the news, and they ask them about these human rights issues, and they're like, "But Xinjiang, have you ever been there? It's the most beautiful part of China ever. That is our gem. It's the most beautiful landscapes. This is beautiful. Why are you focusing
yeah.
on this negative? And so it's the same.
It's the way to detract.
So now
Things
Disney
get
wants to film a movie in China. China's like, film in Xinjiang and show our beautiful landscapes. That's and so now people watch Mulan and like, oh, look how beautiful China is. It's amazing. And then that's it. And then they step away and they don't think about the human rights atrocities happening in that same province that they filmed in. So
yeah.
that's
And I can understand, like, I mean, how that too, like, ties to Over the Moon. I understand, and like that, honestly, that pretty much that ties in basically with what I learned about it too. Was that the unnamed town that Fei Fei and her family happen to live in is
hmm
not an actual depiction of what all towns look like. That town was most likely some kind of like a tourist kind of destination for people passing through, but they like melded it to include more people actually living there. So like that's very much what I heard too on that end. At the
hmm
same time, I get that this is a story that's meant to be an overcoming grief and like a coming of
yeah,
age thing, as most kids' movies are. So I understand how they might want to gloss over the obvious
yeah.
inaccuracies. Um, with the like as much as I want to nitpick at it, and we could nitpick at a lot of the movies that we review too on the
hmm
channel. Um, for some of the cultural inaccuracies, you also have to think about like just the fact that they depicted like a positive, at least more like sort of positive family
Mm-hmm.
situation, a family that seemed relatively relatable to Western viewers, that exposed viewers to a culture they weren't familiar with.
Yeah.
Maybe they thought just the act of that representation is enough to override
Mm-hmm.
um, it's enough to override some of the things that we're omitting.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
that's
And
such a big that's another discussion of like how do we write the fine line?
mm-hmm.
Like what is acceptable to brush under the rug and what should we be yelling out cancel
Yeah.
for?
Well,
Because
and because so what I like about this movie, it so when I was watching it, it brought back a lot of memories of when I was in China because it is the cultural aspects are very accurate. The family, like the family getting together for Moon Festival, the style of dinner that they're having when they're all sitting around the table and they got the giant lazy Susan, like that, like that brings back a lot of memories. I've been to a lot of dinners like that with coworkers, families, and you know attending other like traditional family dinners like that. I've been to a lot of those dinners with all the different varieties of foods and everybody sitting really close together and everybody sharing the food. Like that brought back a lot of memories, and that's like everything I love about China was in this movie. Like all of the positive memories. That you know, I only lived in China for 1 year, and I don't think I'll be living there. I'll probably visit, but I don't think I'll be living there long term ever again. There's enough negative. When I was there, I was constantly sick. I got so sick at one point I actually went deaf and I had to get surgery on my ears. Like
I remember this.
I was, but so it was like, so that there were a lot of points when I was in China. I was like super, like it was just like, yeah, it was rough. But there's other parts, like basically everything in this movie is everything I loved about China. It brought back like all of the good memories that I had when I was living in China. Like it's all depicted in this movie. It's just that like it's
Oh,
not, but at the same time, it's not the real like
it's not the real China,
it's the
but it
ideal.
gives you
It's
good
what it's what
feeling.
China. I feel like it's what China should be. If China were not ruled by a totalitarian regime, this is what China would be. It would be exactly like this. That I feel like that, but and a lot of they do keep these everybody they still do have these same dinners and everything. It would be like this all but like the way the family is, I feel like is very because that's the thing is a lot of the things I was talking about is a product of the Chinese government and I think but as far as the Chinese people are still Chinese people and they have these same Chinese traditions that they've had for the past thousands and thousands of years and and they're people people are people all over the world. I that's what I've realized going to China and going to Taiwan and like now I realize that people are people. They like to sing, they like to dance and joke and tell stories. They're just people, and I feel like the way that they were portrayed in this movie is very accurate to the way people are in China. And so yeah, so those so I feel like those are very accurate. The dinner's accurate, and it's everything I loved about China. It's just it's when a Chinese production studio makes a movie, I'm just very suspicious of their intentions. you know
Well, yeah, well, yeah.
that.
I mean, rightfully so, considering your personal experience
Hmm.
with China and your musings too about like what the governmental system is like.
Hmm.
I mean, that would be interesting if a movie decided to touch on that, but I doubt that they will, given the restrictions, and they'll probably get into a lot of trouble if they do
Yeah,
it.
well, like well, yeah, because that's a movie produced in China will definitely not do that. A yeah, a movie produced in America or whatever, like uh, it would be very difficult to get that sort of movie made, to get funding for that movie, because the people funding that movie have ties with China, and so you don't, it's very difficult to get funding to get a movie like that made. It's yeah, I don't think it would happen, not in the near future, that's for sure. But
Hmm. Yeah.
no,
I mean, regardless, I mean, the good thing is that I think this movie left a good impression,
mm-hmm,
like in terms of its family and
yeah,
societal relatability. I think it did its job on that front. Like I felt inspired. Like and again, I feel the same way about this movie as I do with Mulan.
mm-hmm,
Not the most recent one because I still haven't watched it because I just don't want my my childhood reality to be altered.
mm-hmm,
I should watch it, but I will. I will for a later time. But the original Mulan, yes, you can admit there's a ton of stuff about that specific movie that's westernized
mm-hmm,
for the specific audience that they're trying to appeal to. And so a lot of elements of traditional Chinese culture are therefore missing.
mm-hmm,
But at the same time, for people who grew up in America who are not familiar with the culture, like it was enough to just have somebody on screen, at least for me, that kind of like looked like me,
mm-hmm,
that I could relate to from a story element,
yeah,
if that makes sense. And I feel the same way about this movie too, where it's so endearing,
mm-hmm,
um, and I think creative. Like, I don't know, because that story is like, it's wild. I could not describe, I was having trouble describing it to you. I was like, it's about a girl who built a rocket ship to the moon
right,
to convince her dad to not get married by seeing evidence that a goddess on the moon exists.
mm-hmm,
Like
right,
that's it's a wild premise. So it's like I don't know if there's a movie that like 100% will get every single element right and do 100% justice to everything,
mm-hmm,
you know? Even if it is made in the country
yeah,
that that the story is set in
and
with actors of that era, you know, because then how original would you be being
mm-hmm.
if you
And
were,
I feel
you
like
know
this,
what I'm saying?
yeah. Well, I was actually surprised when I looked at the director and the writer. They're not Chinese, which I found very interesting because when I was watching this movie, it didn't seem like it was actually made for a Western audience. It really felt like it was made for a Chinese audience. Everything was very China centered. I don't know if a lot of Americans would like get the cultural significance of like all the things that are happening there, like mooncakes. I don't think most people in America, I don't know if they know what mooncakes are, you know, or the Moon Festival. That's a very
Yeah,
Chinese holiday that like
that's so
nobody
cultural,
knows. Yeah, because everybody knows about Day of the Dead, so Coco is easier to like get
right?
into.
People
And
know the Chinese New Year exists too, but the
yeah,
Moon Festival is
yeah, the
like,
Moon Festival is kind of an obscure
no.
Chinese holiday that like is not it's not really well known in the U.S. or in the West at all. So it's very interesting. I found it interesting that the writer and the director both are not Chinese, you know, yet they were able to still capture all of the nuances. And so, but yeah, because when I was watching it, that's one of the reasons why I wanted to watch it in Mandarin, or I felt like it should have been in Mandarin, is because I've seen similar movies like this that are in Mandarin because they're produced for Chinese for a Chinese audience, and this one it really felt like that. It felt like it was produced for a Chinese audience, and it felt kind of weird to watch it in English. Yeah, so
Yeah,
yeah,
that makes a lot of sense.
because I feel like they got a lot of there are a lot of accuracies, cultural accuracies in this movie that I feel like they really nailed.
I think so too. Like combined with Broadway-esque songs. Like,
Hmm.
can you imagine how great this would be on Broadway? Actually, it would be really good.
Yeah, I think it'd be cool.
It's like they made it in
Hmm.
a like in a Broadway musical fashion and then just translated it to film. But it
Hmm.
worked so well.
Yeah.
And the songs are actually pretty memorable.
Hmm.
Like I remember some of them. I remember the scenes I might not remember them like verse for verse because some of them it's like the writing is almost too good.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, I need lyrics to I need a sing along video to sing along to this. Um,
Mm-hmm.
you know? Because
Yeah.
like if you ask me to like sing back of Hello Kitty. Okay. If you asked me to like sing back a verse from Ultraluminary, I probably couldn't do it, but I
Mm-hmm.
still remember it.
Yeah.
Like I remember the tune. And I mean that's important.
Mm-hmm.
As
All right.
opposed to Moana where we were like we can't really remember the songs.
Yeah.
I remember, hey, what can I say except you're welcome?
Right.
And then Moana's anthem, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah. All right. Well, my computer's running out of batteries, so I think
Oh,
let's go ahead. Let's wrap this up. I think
okay, let's wrap it up. Let's
we've
wrap it up.
exhausted
Okay.
our topic.
All right.
So,
All right. Okay,
Michaela,
Kevin. Oh,
oh, do you want to ask
oh, I
me
was gonna
or?
ask you.
Oh, well, ask
Okay.
me. Go for it.
Okay, okay.
I'm,
All right, Kevin. So on this Cinepick for you, what is your Cinepick score for Netflix's Over the Moon?
so my Cine-Picks score for Netflix, over the moon. I I enjoyed it. I really liked it. I think I liked it more than Moana. I don't know, but uh, yeah. I feel like it's it's just such a real. It was the story was told so well, and I think it's so easy to
Mm,
understand, and but still so entertaining at the same time and
right,
unexpected. Like going to the moon, I'm trying to like imagine what would the world be like on the moon. I did not expect it to be like anything like they showed. It's completely different from anything, you know. So it's like there's a lot of unexpected things, a lot of fun characters. Is so
right.
I'm going to give it a an 8 out of 10. Yeah, that's my Cinefic score. I really like this one.
And
Yep.
I, sorry, I'll let you ask.
Yeah, so what about you? How would you rate Over the Moon?
You keep jumping gun talking over each other. I would actually rate it. I do a half point more
Okay.
than what you gave because it's like it's up there. It's up there with like the really good animated films.
Mm-hmm.
There are still a few kitty jokes in there, which kind of go burr, burr, move it down just a little bit for me. But I feel like this one needs to be getting more press since it's a new release. I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, this should be blowing up right now. Huge.
Right.
And people need to go and see this movie because I love this movie. I give it an 8.5 out of 10.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Okay.
not just for like beautiful visuals, but also just for like the mature writing. Like I didn't feel
Mm-hmm.
like I was being talked down to. I really
Yeah.
appreciate it when filmmakers are like, this is a animated movie, but it's a universal animated movie that everyone can find something enjoyable in.
Mm-hmm.
And I liked that. I
Yeah.
appreciated it. And in a way, you're right. I kind of do like it more than Moana
Mm-hmm.
because the story was just told better. I don't know. Like Ernest plot holes for as weird of a story as it is.
Mm-hmm.
It works really well and it's just beautiful.
Yeah.
It's just beautiful and everything is so cute.
Mm-hmm.
Like all the little dragons that come down from the beam of light and escort them up to the
Mm-hmm.
moon. They're so cute. Gobi is
Mm-hmm.
cute. They found a way. They made Kenjeong cute. Like I just, he's so cute. I
Yeah.
want a little Gobi stuffed animal
Yeah.
to
Right.
hug and cuddle. Because everything in this movie is just, it looks adorable.
Mm-hmm.
Even cuter than Pixar. Like,
Yeah.
dare I say it?
Right.
Like, it's just cute. But it's also a beautiful film.
Mm-hmm.
And it's also really well written.
Yeah.
Yeah, 8.5 out of 10 for me.
All right. Yeah. That sounds
Yeah.
good. This is good.
So, to wrap up this episode, what is your next cinepick for me, Kevin?
So, Michaela, my next Cinepick for you, since we're getting close to Christmassy holiday season. So, my next Cinepick for you is Rare Exports. It's a, I believe it's Norwegian. It might be Finnish. It's a Christmas horror movie. I really like it. We'll see if you like it.
I
I don't know.
love
Yeah,
Christmas
it's
horror Christmas
yeah.
movies.
It's a very
I
strange. It's not what you expect from a horror movie. It's
Good to know.
mhm.
All right. Well, I'm excited to watch it. So, thank you so much for watching, all you Cinepickers. This has been Michaela and Kevin reviewing Over the Moon from Netflix. Go ahead and like, hit, and smash that subscribe button for more content like this. And don't forget, you can also recommend Cinepick movies for us to review. So go ahead and drop a comment down there. Thank
Yay.
you.
Goodbye.